You know, I hear that Guile's theme goes with anything.
Round one, fight! Sonic boom!
Hey there, I'm Mike, and what I have for you today is more Street Fighter, because you guys seem to like the last video I did on them, and so did I. So I'll do some more. If you haven't been keeping up, the first wave consisted of Ryu, Chun-Li, and Fei Long, with wave 2 being M. Bison, Ken, and Dalsim. And honestly, that all kind of blends together for me because I bought them all at basically the same time and made one long video about it. Again, go watch it. Even if you have, watch it again. It helps me out. So here we are at wave 3, and that consists of Cammy, DJ, and Guile. The question becomes, does Jada Toys keep up their perfect run of making incredible toys with lots of great accessories? Yep, end of video. Bye. Just kidding. Let's check out DJ first. DJ was the first figure I opened up from the new wave, which I got from Big Bad Toy Store. I like to say where I got things from, just in case people have questions. That's where I got it from. Anyways, I opened him up first because of the three, he was the character I cared about the least. Now, I don't have anything against DJ at all. I just never owned a copy of Super Street Fighter 2. My brother and I rented it one time, I think, and he isn't as memorable as Cammy for like reasons. But wow. Out of the package, DJ absolutely oozes Riz. Am I allowed to be saying that? Am I saying it right? I feel like I'm too old to say that. There's just so much personality here. This is what he looks like out of the package. But before we move on, we have to put on one of his accessories, which is his chain necklace, because he doesn't look right without it. There. Now he's ready to go. DJ is a fighter from Jamaica. He first appeared in Super Street Fighter 2, The New Challengers. His fighting style is kickboxing and breakdancing, and that's basically all you need to know. Look, I watched a bunch of lore videos on YouTube in preparation for this video, and DJ basically amounts to exactly what I got from the wiki, which is what I just said. Go figure. Out of the box, DJ is sculpted shirtless with his trademark maximum. I mean, what are those? Sweatpants? Karate pants? His torso is shredded from top to bottom, front to back, sculpted in all the details like muscles, abs, nipples, veins, you know, stuff that buffed out shirtless guys have. I mean, I wouldn't know anything about that, except nipples. I've got nipples. His pants are actually pretty impressive and do their best to solve a problem I hadn't thought about. What happens when you have a word written down the leg that articulation could make look weird? Well, at the hips, they doubled up the M, so it could look weird, but it also looks fine, I guess? Like, you get what's going on. You can read it just fine, if you can read, that is. The painting is sharp and looks good against the slight texture of his pants. He's also got feet, but I'm not really a foot guy, so I don't know what else to say about them. They sure are feet. So all of that being said, I don't think the actual figure resembles his Street Fighter 2 model very well. The model looks like he's 70% legs with a squat torso. DJ has obviously had a lot of looks over the last 30 plus years of being in Street Fighter games, but these are specifically from Street Fighter 2. But that being said, I kind of like the look of the figure better than the look of the original artwork. Sue me, it looks better. His articulation is, as usual, buttery smooth. You can feel some light ratcheting in his elbows, knees, and ankles, which allow for solid poses that really hold their own weight very well. He's got butterfly joints on the shoulders that really allow for some great arm movements. He has cuts on the bicep, double jointed elbows, as well as a swivel and hinge at the wrist. I do wish, however, that his wrists were ball jointed, but that's such a small nitpick. His neck joint goes pretty far back and forward, as well as the secondary joint at the base of the neck and shoulders. He has a torso cut that's really tight and feels useless at first, but if you give it enough pressure, it'll move. He also has a separate waist joint that has an incredible range of movement, but mostly because his crotch piece is sculpted in firm but flexible rubber material. Same. Moving down to his legs, they can kick forward and back because, you know, kicking is his thing. He also has a swivel cut at the thigh, a double jointed knee, and a swivel at the ankle under the pants, and a hinge and rocker at the feet. And just like every other figure in the line, these are all pinless joints, leaving no eyesores on any elbow or knee. As far as accessories go, this follows the general outline of every other mainline release of the Street Fighter figures. Some extra releases have had more accessories, but these are the main releases. You get the figure, of course, one alternate head, an alternate set of hands, and then some kind of effect piece. Also, he came with the necklace I mentioned. I did sort of skim over the necklace at first, but just some quick notes. It's so cool that it's made of real metal. I know it's silly, but coming from someone who mainly collects Hasbro stuff, using metal on a figure is usually seen as a big, notable selling feature. And here with this line is just like part of the figure. It's just normal. I'm just saying it's a refreshing change of pace. So let's talk about the head. The head that comes on the figure is good. He has a cartoonishly big grin, furrowed brow, and a short, flat top crew cut that goes down into a sculpted set of braids. Now, out of the box, these braids are draped over his shoulders, and honestly, I don't really like it. It looks fine, but the braids tend to get in the way of the articulation, and they don't lay flat, leaving them looking like they're sort of floating when his head is in certain positions. And they usually mess up the way the chain drapes across the necklace. You can, if you want, just move the braids behind him to his back, but I don't think they're made to move that way, and I don't know what that will do with the plastic with long-term posing that way. So I much prefer his alternate head for many reasons. With a quick pop and swap, the new head is on, and he looks fantastic. DJ's portrait matches on both heads, but on this one, his mouth is open, either screaming or laughing. Honestly, you could choose. It's your toy. His braids are also sculpted naturally to go straight back, which again, I prefer. I just feel that of the two different expressions these have, this one has a lot more personality, but they are both good. Moving down to his hands out of the package, he comes with fists, you know, for punching. His wrists and hands are sculpted with the smaller style, like kickboxing or training gloves on. Listen, I'm obviously not a fighting guy. I don't really know anything about this stuff. Let me know in the comments if I'm wrong. I can take it. If you want to, his left hand can be swapped out for a thumbs up hand, either giving someone a thumbs up or pointing to himself with his thumb. Who knew a thumb could be so versatile? And his right hand can then be swapped out for a pointy hand, and he can literally point at anything you want. The sky, the ground, his butt, his nose. If you put it in front of him, he could point at it. It truly is the pinnacle of action figures. So that just leaves his effect piece. This represents his air slasher. The idea is that he uppercuts so fast and hard that it creates a shockwave. The effect itself is really nice. It's actually molded in a very good translucent plastic. And you can either put it on the stand vertically, if you want to show off the quarter of a second it looks like this on screen, or you can show it off horizontally if you want it to look correct. And I glossed over this, but it comes with a freaking stand. Like I said at the beginning, DJ is a character I had absolutely no feelings towards. I honestly forgot he was even in the games. I may have played as him once or twice when my brother and I rented Super Street Fighter 2 on Super Nintendo one weekend, but that's the extent of my experience with DJ. That all being said, I love this figure, and I loved him as soon as I took him out of the package, and that says a lot about Jada Toys' ability to just make a fun toy. That in spite of my indifference to the character, they made me like it, and they made me like it a lot. Kudos, Jada Toys. I'm giving Dee Jay a 4 out of 5. But of course, Dee Jay isn't the only figure in the wave. Speaking of butts, let's talk Cammy. Just like Dee Jay, Cammy first appeared in 1993's Super Street Fighter II The New Challengers, which, by the way, was the 4th Street Fighter II game. Wild. But unlike Dee Jay, I liked Cammy. I played Cammy a lot. But not just me, she's easily the most popular of the new characters in this game, and one of the most popular characters in Street Fighter in the entire franchise. She has one of the more lore-rich backstories of any character in the franchise. Cammy is a fighter from the UK whose main fighting style is Special Forces training and Shadaloo fighting techniques. And if you don't know what that means, that's okay. The Shadaloo is an evil organization headed by M. Bison, and there's a whole backstory with Cammy and Bison and Killer Bee and all this stuff. And if you want to know more info, this is not going to be the place to find it. I'm so sorry, but it's a lot. It's a lot, and we don't have time for that. We have to talk about the figure. Out of the box, Cammy is sporting her beret, twin braided ponytails, a skin-tight bodysuit, thick boots, and heavy gauntlets. This is pretty much exactly how she looked in the game. The sculpt and paintwork on her body is pretty spot on. It looks like it was painted on her body in the game, and it's literally painted on her body on the toy. Her gauntlets are sculpted nicely. They look properly big and weighty, and then down to her boots, same thing. She's got nice big boots. And then of course she also has cake. It's not an accessory because she can't seem to lose it, but more on that later. Her articulation is much like Dee Jay's, buttery smooth and wildly posable. Everything I talked about on Dee Jay is here. Well, almost everything. We've got joints on the neck, pinless elbows and knees, bicep cut, thigh cut, rotation at the boots, rotation at the boots, great ankle hinge and rockers, but there's two places where she differs. First, just like Chun-Li, she lacks butterfly joints. Now, I don't make toys for a living, so all I can do is speculate about why they didn't give her butterfly joints. Maybe it's that her torso joint is just too small and thin, but I do know that if they had found a way, there are some poses that she could pull off a lot more easily and effectively if she had butterfly joints. Mostly anything that involves her arms being crossed either in front of her or behind her. Her next difference is articulation in her legs because they go up, like all the way up. Her hips allow her to kick super high, but it does make her look like the peg hole on her leg is visible, and it's in a weird spot. When you look at it. I mean, it's great, but like this looks weird, right? You can get her into some fantastic poses that look dynamic and natural, and they're very easy to pull off for the most part. Okay, let's talk about her butt. She has one, and I mean, you can't ignore it, it's there. And while she can have some incredible poses, putting her in extreme poses makes her butt look off, weird, wrong, or good, if you're into it. I don't think this is a big deal, but I wanted to point it out because I do tend to talk about butts a lot. Any butt. Dude butt, girl butt, I don't care. I like butts. And honestly, Dee Jay and Guile, they've got kind of flat butts. It's a little disappointing. Anyways, you have to be a real weirdo to care that much about a toy's butt. So let's talk accessories instead. Just like with Dee Jay, we have an alternate head, alternate hands, and an energy effect. Starting with her original head sculpt, it's fine. I'm not crazy about it, but mostly because they inexplicably gave her duck face. Don't get me wrong, it's not all bad. Her beret looks good. I think the little lock of hair that curls from under her face is really cool, and I haven't begun to talk about her braids yet. Her braids are articulated. They're sculpted and painted very nicely. But just like Dee Jay, the real star of the show here is her alt head, which now has a fierce, determined expression with mouth open for screaming action. And on this head, the braids are sculpted in a more flayed out and wild position. Now, because these are on pegs, they can actually be removed and swapped out if you want to change them between either head, which is a display option, making the braids also accessories, I guess, if you want to say that. Both heads have their place. She doesn't really look that natural if you put her in a neutral position, but she's screaming her head off while standing there. Likewise, any action pose you put her in is sold better if she has a screaming face on. The hands that come with the figure are sculpted into fist. Again, fighting, punching, appropriate. But if you want options, you have two very similar looking alternate hands to choose from. These are sort of palm strikey hands, I guess. The fingers are all together. Thumb in on one, thumb out on the other. And the fingers are sort of arched back. Because of these hands, you can have some fun magical girl moments with them that I don't think you could do with either of the guys, because the hands make a big deal here. But you can if you want to. You can put her in stretching poses, slapping poses. I mean, the sky's the limit. The hands are pretty versatile. So lastly, we get her effect piece, which attaches to her foot, so she can do her cannon drill or spiral arrow, whatever you want to call it, I guess. I don't really know. And honestly, it's good, but it's also kind of the worst. Look, it's sculpted great. It's translucent with some cool energy tendrils coming out in a vaguely spiral shaped, but it's a bit too small. In the game, the spirals are fewer, but they go all the way up her body. But the real problem for me is that when she does this, she's completely off the ground. So what they really should have done is given us some kind of stand for her. She really needs a flight stand to pull off this move. Again, the effect piece is cool, but she's just laying on the ground when you use it. Unless you want to use it wrong, which is fine. It's your toy. Again, the toy police are not going to come and bust down your door for playing with this wrong. So maybe pick up a flight stand if you have it, but really you should have one if you're a toy collector. Like, why don't you have one? So while Cammy isn't perfect, but at the same time, she also kind of is. Like, she is really good, but just her. She can be put into any pose and look amazing. No matter what pose she's in, she looks amazing. She could do no wrong, but she could have been just a little bit better. I'm going to give Cammy a 4.5 out of 5. Despite her flaws, she's still worth that much to me. So that brings us around to Guile, probably one of the most popular characters in the game that people have been waiting for since day one. Guile was probably my favorite looking Street Fighter character in the game. I was a big fan of G.I. Joe as a kid, and now, but also as a kid. And Guile looks like he ate Duke and absorbed all of his powers like Majin Buu. That was a dumb reference. Why did I say that? Why did I type that? Out of the box, we've got Guile in his classic tank top, camo pants, army boots, tats, and crazy ass hair. And just like DJ, the first thing we need to do is put on Guile's dog tags, because he needs dog tags. Guile first appears in Street Fighter II: The World Warrior, which is just the first Street Fighter II game. You know, of the 5 or more Street Fighter II games, because that was just a running joke in the 90s that we were never going to get Street Fighter 3. But hey, here we are in 2025 and people are enjoying Street Fighter 6. At least I think they are. I don't play it. Should I play it? Let me know. Guile is from the good old US of A, and he's apparently an Air Force pilot and uses martial arts and professional wrestling moves. So Guile here is absolutely bulked out with maybe the most amount of muscles we've seen in the line yet. He is a beefy boy. I honestly don't even know how he fits in the cockpit of a jet. This is shown off by his tank top. The tank top has a sculpted texture to it, and the paint is sharp, as is the norm for the line. I don't think I've ever actually seen a missed paint app on any of the figures I've gotten from Jada Toys, which is actually pretty crazy now that I think about it. He's got 2 American flag tattoos, one on each of his shoulders, just in case you weren't sure what country he was associated with. And like a nerd, he has his tank top tucked into his pants with his well-painted and sculpted belt. What a nerd. But let's take a second and just appreciate these pants. Not to continuously put down Hasbro, just to talk about how great Jada Toys is. And I know all things aren't equal. but it's just that 90% of what I collect comes from Hasbro, and the Black Series is my #1 line. It's the line I do most of my videos on. It's the line I do a podcast about. But for those who aren't aware, in 2023, we got an Endor Rebel Trooper in the Black Series line. I bring this up because this figure was sold as a deluxe figure almost entirely because of his pants. The paint on the pants was deemed too much for the regular action figure budget in that line. And then here we have Guile, and these pants are nuts. These pants put the Endor Rebel Trooper to shame, and he still only costs $25 at retail. Also, he's got boots, laces, all great paint apps and sculpting, and I mean, they're boots. So, articulation. This is the drawback to doing 3 figures in one video. Should I do them individually in the future, or do you like long-form wave reviews? For me, wave reviews feels easier to do mentally, but I don't know if it really is. But I do just like long-form content myself, so that's what I've been tending to make. Let me know down in the downstairs area what you think. Anyways, Guile moves very similarly to DJ and pretty much any other dude in the line. The articulation is pretty standardized, but I still say that his muscles do get a little bit in the way of some poses. His muscles are too big. He's too big. He has pinless joints with soft ratchets on his elbows, knees, and ankles, which is of course where the weight of the figure rests when you pose him. So they're solid, and he can hold some crazy poses without any aids. But so can every other figure in the line. So in the scope of the line, his articulation isn't anything special, but compared to most other toys in my collection, he's incredible. Again, the whole line is. So with articulation out of the way, let's talk about his accessories. Of course, he gets the standards: alt head, alt hands, and effect pieces. But I don't even know where to start. I guess let's start with the head. And just like Cammy's butt, we can't ignore this hair. He's got crazy hair, and if you look at the game, it's objectively true that Guile has crazy hair. But in the game, it looks good because it's 2D. Or at least fine, in the exaggerated cartoony way the game can look, but render that into 3D and the hair becomes a lot. His head looks like a floor buffer, or at least it looks like it was used as a floor buffer. Again, it's accurate to the game, it's just weird in person. Out of the box, the standard head is plain and stoic. His alternate head, however, is pretty much exactly the same, but his eyes are more narrowed and his jaw is set, clenched, and open in a grimace. Honestly, either face here works fine for pretty much any pose you want to do. He's just that kind of guy who would stand there in a vanilla pose with a grimace, or throw a punch with a very plain face. And of course, he does come with his necklace. I mentioned that. Just like DJ, it's made of metal and holds up his plastic dog tags. His hands out of the box are just fish. Fish? No, his hands out of the box are just fists, because every Street Fighter figure should have fists, again, for punching. But the alternate hands are where we get a little silly. His alternate left hand is open, and you can do some fun stuff with that, like slapping, popping his knuckles, waving, and it can be paired with his right alternate hand, which is a grippy hand. And that's where it gets interesting, because in this line so far, we haven't really had any grippy hands. No figures have needed them. They don't need to hold anything except for when they do, which brings us to his other accessory, a comb. Guile comes with a comb. In the game, characters have unique win animations. One of Guile's is combing his hair. So the idea is that you can have him combing his hair with his right hand and using his left hand to straighten the hair. They work in tandem, together. You can also recreate his other winning pose by holding those dog tags in the air. So that just leaves Guile's effect piece, which is his sonic boom. Honestly, I may have preferred something for his sonic kick, but I can't deny that the sonic boom is much more iconic. I don't love the way they sculpted it, but the idea comes across well enough and is rendered in a fun, translucent color. The problem is that his muscles are too big and he really can't put his arms crossed enough to get a really satisfying, convincing sonic boom pose for me. You see, the idea is that he swings his hands together so fast, it creates a sonic boom that spins horizontally towards his opponent. And that's of course achieved with the included stand. Did I mention his effect comes with a stand? Because it also comes with a stand. For me, Guile is easily the best figure in the wave in terms of looks, accessory count, paint deco, and probably even articulation. He can and will kick your ass. And I don't mean Guile, I mean this toy. This toy means business. While I could nitpick it, I really think he earned a nearly perfect score at 4.75 out of 5. So let's break down the wave a bit. I did them in order that I liked them, and just because DJ was first doesn't mean I didn't like him. I did. I do. He's just the one that I like the least of the three, and I almost didn't even buy him at all. What a dummy I would have been. I'm always impressed with Jada Toys' pricing versus their sculpt work, paint apps, and most importantly, consistent accessory inclusion. This line is a joy. It's a joy to pose, a joy to collect, even characters I don't have any affinity for or connection to. I still enjoy them on the level of them just being good toys. And that's what's great here. That's the takeaway. They're good toys. Jada Toys knows how to make a good toy. The next wave is going to be a banger of a wave with 3 more characters that I am just so excited for. Blanca, the wild beast from the Amazon, Vega, the Wolverine clawed cage fighter from Spain, and Sagat, the tiger flinging Muay Thai fighter from Thailand. I hope we don't have to wait too long for these, but I don't mind a few months to enjoy these figures before I have to add more to them. And if you haven't seen it yet, Jada Toys has actually already shown off the entire line. Nothing here is a mystery. It's just a matter of when they come out, and every figure looks great. And I'm going to be honest, if they have to charge more for some of the bigger figures, I will pay it. And Jada, if you're watching, after you're done with Street Fighter, I would not mind literally any other fighting game. Even fighting games I don't care about. But you know, the classics, Mortal Kombat, Darkstalkers, whatever. Maybe even do the Capcom side of Marvel vs. Capcom. Heck, see if you can get Marvel. Wrestle Marvel's license away from Hasbro. I dare you. So let me know down in the comments what you think about these. Do you have them? Are you avoiding the line with the fear that if you dip your toe in, you'll immediately fall in and drown? I've been there. That's what happened to me. I'm dead. I love to read and respond to any comment that you want to leave. I also want to thank these people here for supporting me as a YouTube channel member. If you want to see your name on this list, please consider joining. You also get my videos a day ahead and ad-free for that day. But if not, that's cool. Liking, sharing, and subscribing is free, and it still helps out the channel immensely. So please, at least do that if you haven't. And with that, of course, thanks for watching, thanks for getting this far, and I'll see you later. Bye.